Hi everyone, this is my movie review of The Revenant. It was directed by Alejandro G. Iñárritu and it stars Leonardo DiCaprio as Hugh Glass. And essentially, it's a movie where it's set in the 1800s during the Louisiana Purchase, and it's where these group of people on a fur expedition who get attacked by Native Americans called the Ree. And from there, the movie begins where Leo, their most experienced frontiersman, gets mauled by a bear. And essentially, the movie is watching him trying to overcome the elements of nature as well as the people around him. This movie itself is not really for the faint of heart because there's definitely a lot of gory scenes in there. It definitely has a lot of action, but they definitely don't hold back in showing every scar that's pretty much admitted to each actor in this movie. The bear part is the main draw that people remember about this movie. There's so much more elements to this, such as the cinematography of it, the way it was filmed, that the director really did a great job of showing the massiveness of this of nature itself. It's the frontier. I was watching this movie in the theater, and you actually do feel like you're in solitude. Right at the very beginning of the movie, too, they they really focused on breathing because the first thing you hear in the film is these breaths, and then later on you find out it's Leo's, and it's an ongoing theme about survival and undertone in the entire movie. It's one of those movies that the more I think about it, the more I look back, like I actually did enjoy that movie because while you're watching the film, there's enough action where it's not like one of those super choreographed scenes, but it's just very savage like. That's another theme that's going through this movie, is that of course it's the frontiersmen, and then there's also the Native Americans, where there's obviously a clash between the two groups, where both groups in itself is calling each other savages. But the movie greatly points out that there's good and there's also evil people within groups, even though they each side feels that they have a right to the land. I'm not gonna lie to you right now. This is about three-fourths of the movie Leonardo DiCaprio crawling, literally. Of course, he got mauled by the bear. So if you can if you can stand movies like Castaway, where there's not a lot of dialogue going on. This is definitely one of those movies. But as I was referring earlier, the cinematography in itself, there were so many shots that involved symbolism that was great. And I know Alejandro G. Iñárritu also filmed Birdman, and it's very evident by this because there was definitely certain shots that looked like it was shot in one take, where it just zoomed by. Like you see these epic battle in the beginning, and you could have sworn it felt like you were in that point of view where it was done on purpose, so that way it makes the audience member like myself feel that we're actually in that crossfire, where arrows are being shot at, people are dying left and right. It goes from silent and then boom, somebody dies. It was really quick and really well done, and it really puts a modern take to what's been done before, and I like that. Now let's talk a little bit about the acting itself. Leonardo DiCaprio's acting, Leo brings it like he normally does. For a man who doesn't have a lot of dialogue on film, on this film, he pretty much showed as much emotion as he can through his face. You can see a lot of suffering happening, and that's hard to do, especially if you're crawling in most of the movie, because people are speculating that this is the movie to get him the Oscar. I don't know, but if it does, great. I don't think he really needs an Oscar. I think he's a phenomenal actor already. He already has enough draw that he doesn't need an Oscar, in my point of view. And another actor in this movie, since we're talking about it, is Tom Hardy. And Tom Hardy, he plays the jerk so well in this movie, opposite of Leo, where it's just like, man, this is the kind of guy you really don't want to hang around with too much. You could tell right there that even though he is the antagonist in this movie, that Tom Hardy played it to the best of his abilities, where he's just a guy where he's just trying to make a living, and he feels that these people are in his way, and he'll do what he can to survive. But I have to talk about this one scene where Leo's pinned to the ground, and it's one of those bad situations where somebody asks you to do something that you normally do, so that way they can clear their conscience. An example of that now is that, okay, well, if you don't want me to do this, don't breathe. Of course, that's like something impossible. You're gonna breathe eventually, and Tom Hardy's putting Leonardo DiCaprio in these situations when he's already been mauled by a bear. So he plays that part really well. So the movie itself is pretty clear cut. It's essentially a frontier movie turned into a survival movie where Leo gets mauled by a bear and his own return back home for his own purpose. So overall, I would give this movie a 3 out of 5, which is still a pretty good rating. I would definitely go see it again. It's definitely a movie that's going to age real well over time. Now, is this going to be probably in my top list of movies for 2016? I don't think so, for my own preference, but it's still a good movie. So I do definitely recommend and seeing this, since there's nothing really going on in the month of January. This is kind of this, as I'd like to call it, the stale month for any kind of movies for January. So that's the only thing that's really out there that would be worth watching. So thank you for watching my review of The Revenant. Please like and subscribe, and thank you for the support. I'll see you guys soon.